So I was just showcasing something. I got first place in another tournament, but you know how like a card calls out to you. I've been trying to figure out how to make this my way without playing the same generic stuff everybody else is playing. So then, a few judges was arguing, but they ruled in my favor where Stoic Challenge equips to an Exceed monster. So I was trying to use it with the towers, since the towers aren't affected by stuff. You don't have to worry about crap. So obviously this is Master Duels, so the new towers is not in it, but it's still its lingering effect applies and it affects the player because its lingering effect would be once attached to a XYZ monster, the player cannot activate its effect if it has an effect that doesn't activate by itself. And its lingering effect says if the monster does battle and does damage with a monster, the battle damage is doubled. So there were people saying the card's unaffected, so it shouldn't have its effects. But I don't know, it just randomly popped in my head, so I was like, wanting to play this with this, or even on the lower form was to play with the three level fours that bring Rising Falcon, and then target a monster, permanent gains their attack, and then equip Stoic Challenge, and it would gain another 600 for the last two materials, and since it can attack all their monsters, all the battle damage is doubled. So that was the idea I had behind it, but then I was like, I wonder if it will work with the towers. And I'm like, okay, the towers aren't affected, but it's a lingering effect. And the other effect affects the player, where you cannot activate its effect. But the lingering effect is the battle damage. It says if the monster does damage, it's doubled. So I was like, if it applies in the game, it should basically apply everywhere. But sometimes it's iffy with certain things. Maybe it might be a bug or something, but the algorithm should know it. So it ruled in my favor, and I got first place. And I found a way to play Raidraptors my way where this doesn't hinder it. And then at the end of my opponent's turn, if they somehow survived, then it would destroy itself and destroy the monster. But since it's attached to a tower, or if it's just attached to Arc Rebellion Dragon, it doesn't do nothing. And most of the decks I play Stoic Challenge, so I was like, it was just calling out to me. I'm like, I can't use you because these are towers. And then I was like, wait a minute. It's should be a lingering effect, so it should affect. I should still get the double damage. So even if they were to pop it, remove it, it's supposed to take the monster with it, but it's a fucking towers, like I said. So I'm showcasing. I already dropped his attack to 0. I have at least one material. It's equipped to Ultimate Falcon. It's a tower. So if it didn't apply, it should just take 35. If it does apply, he's going to take 7,000. So the 7,000 applied. It's a lingering effect where the spell card says if the monster does damage, it's doubled. So the spell card is what's doing the double damage. It's not affecting the monster. And the trigger effect, which I already activated anyways, because it had two materials, is dropped him to 0, and then I cannot activate it again. Because it's like, to activate a card is that affects the player. Again, not the card. So, I don't know. It's just something random, and I found a way to play Raidraptors my way. I was just showcasing it here so you can see visually what I mean. Well, let me get your thoughts on it. Like I said, the judges ruled in my favor, but I'm always playing things that would never, ever, ever come up in other situations, whether it was with my Arcana Knights, my Blue Eyes, or these situations where there's no ruling on these cards in my situation, so it's like the judge had to rule on the spot and so forth. Then you would think Yu-Gi-Oh would be simple enough to say, hey, he's right. But people argue, especially when they're losing and they want to fight, and it could be toxic. So it was just showcasing like its applications. It affects the player, and its lingering effect says if the monster does damage, it's doubled. So even though it's equipped to its towers, I still get its effects.